Hey guys, welcome and thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. A new study in the Journal of Cancer found that 42% of 612 breast cancer patients that were studied said that they used cannabis to relieve symptoms associated with their disease or the side effects of their treatment, including pain, fatigue, nausea, vomiting, insomnia, stress, and anxiety. Three-quarters of the people who used cannabis said it was helpful in alleviating their symptoms. Research has shown that cannabis can be effective for many of these symptoms, notably pain and nausea. 49% of the patients studied said that they use cannabis also, and they believe that the cannabis could have been useful and helpful in the treatment of the cancer itself. Something that I've got to say unequivocally has not been supported yet with research, but there's a lot of research working on that. Well, now today, my guest today is a stage 3 breast cancer survivor. And she's joined by her son, who transitioned from the real estate business to the cannabis industry after witnessing the impact of cannabis and what it had and did for his mother. Mary and Andrew Bowden, thank you so much for being here with us today here on Let's Be Blunt with Montel.
Thanks for having us.
And so I hope I pronounced your last name right. Is it Bowden or Bowden?
Bowden.
Bowden. Okay, great. Super. Well, look, Mary, let's start with you. Why don't you tell me a little bit about, your diagnosis with breast cancer and the shock that must have put you through when you were first diagnosed?
It was a shock. I was diagnosed in October 2016. 15 months earlier, I was perfectly clear. Had a mammogram, nothing, absolutely nothing. So it was triple negative breast cancer. So it's one of the fastest, angriest growing cancers there is. And it blew me away.
But again, you just said 15 months earlier you were cancer-free.
Cancer-free.
And then all of a sudden you are stage 3.
Right. Which if you know stage 3, it's they find it in 2 different places and it's already gone to your lymph nodes.
Wow.
So I was shocked. I was doing everything, felt great. It's unreal.
It had to be. I mean, you reached out to your son, obviously, and told Andrew you heard your mother's diagnosis right then, right?
Yeah, it was a few days later. I heard about the diagnosis, and honestly, I'm one of those out of the problem and into the solution kind of guys. And so I just said, okay, what do we need to do? And that's really what led me to cannabis. I knew one of my good friends was one of the founders of Item 9 Labs, and he's the one that actually brought the RSO tincture for Mary. And she can kind of tell you about what it did for her.
But in the very beginning, did you start this immediately? Did you, of course, you get the diagnosis, you got to go back and forth to your doctor, Mary, trying to figure out what's going to be your course of action. So when you first started talking to the doctor, what was the first course of action that they suggested for you?
Well, I had some of with the triple negative, it's you have the 2 receptors, ER, estrogen, and progesterone, and then you have the growth factor. Those were all negative. So the only course that would treatments that I could have were very harsh. The drugs, very harsh, very severe. So I had 4 treatments over 8 weeks. So I could, the first one I had was adriamycin. You can only have that 4 times in a life. It's so strong. It puts so much stress on your heart.
And that is a chemo, right?
That is a chemo. Yes. So I would have it, and 2 days later, couldn't get out of bed. It was just exhausting. My heart rate, I'd walk upstairs and it was crazy. So that was very, very hard to just get by. And my son saw me. I would travel back home during that time and he would see me and knew he had to help.
And Andrew, you immediately thought, why did you immediately think cannabis? You were in the real estate business, so why did cannabis bounce up and come to mind? Light bulb go off.
I knew quite a few people in the industry. Wasn't really a user myself or anything at the time, but honestly knew the effects of it and knew the healing effects. And watching her go through that, uh, I knew that we had to do something. Good friend and founder of Vitamin Nine Labs gave her some RSO, and that RSO was able to, she called me and she's like, I'm sleeping, I'm eating, I'm doing the things that I need to do.
Did you take the RSO after the very first treatment, or did you wait till after the fourth treatment to take some?
I started, it was between the second and third, very
And
beginning.
let's talk a little bit more about some of the other symptoms. You were tired. You're fatigued. You clearly were in pain, right?
Yes, it puts a toll on your body, and nothing tasted good, and food just didn't appeal.
And when you started using the RSO, which is Rick Simpson oil, did you give you your appetite back?
It did. It did. And we all know when your body's being broke down with all these chemicals and drugs, sleep is a huge thing. It helps your body build back up. And so sleeping, when you only get 2 or 3 hours of sleep at a time, and sleep really does help.
And of course, I mean, did you say anything to your doctors about the fact that you were starting that regimen at that time, or no?
I did to my oncologist. The genomist
Hmm.
didn't want me to do it. He was had a plan, and he didn't want anything to interfere with that. So he really suggested not. They offered me different drugs with chemical solutions, but I'm like, well, why would I want to put more poisons into my body if I'm already gotten this? Cannabis is natural. Cannabis is pure. It helped.
Right. And so, I mean, what do you say when you say it's pure? I think it's going to, at this point in time, you didn't know it was going to help, but you said, I
Right.
think it's going to help. And of course, what did he say after you said, I'm going to do this anyway?
We kind of kept that from him.
Got it. Got it.
So my
Good.
oncologist knew. It was a Christian hospital, and so she couldn't recommend it. She goes, but I've heard from others, and I've seen studies that it does help. I can't tell you you can. I can't suggest it, but I'm not going to say no.
Got it. So you went ahead and went down that path. And so how long was it before you started feeling some, beneficial effect?
No, sleeping right away,
Immediately?
immediately. It
Okay. So
was
you,
right
you,
away.
went- you went through this 4 sessions with that extremely tough chemo, and
Yep.
then you had to go through more sessions with something else, right?
Yes, I had, I can't even remember, 12 weeks of Taxol and carboplatin, and
Mhm.
then also Cytoxin.
Wow. And I mean, what was this? What was going through your brain at the time? Were they telling you that the tumors were getting smaller? What were they saying to you?
Didn't do any scans.
Okay.
Just during the chemo. It was not until the very end, and they said that there was very small. I can't even remember the size of it left. But then I did have double mastectomy surgery after that.
Gotcha. And then you continued on your cannabis regimen?
I did.
And then was the doctor surprised with the way you recovered, or what did they say?
They were very pleased with everything. Uh, on April 21st of 2017, I got a call from my oncologist, says cancer free. There's no
Wow.
cancer left in my body. So it was a day to celebrate.
Hmm. And now did the doctors, any of the doctors give any credit to the cannabis use as being part of the reason why they thought you recovered, or they just said no, it was the
No,
chemotherapies and things?
no, they really didn't.
And Andrew, I mean, when you saw your mother do as well as she did, this convinced you to become a part of this industry, did it not?
It did. It did. In a big way. So we have a family investment fund that I can go back further than that, but the investment fund put over $10 million into the company, close to probably 11 million at this point. So yeah, we absolutely believe in the medicine 100%.
Before this, again, you were in real estate. This made you not only reach out to friends that had a company, but you then became a part of the company, became a CEO, right?
I did, yeah. So going all the way back, I went to college for aviation education, and it's really funny when people ask me about that because they're like, "Well, what did that teach you in business?" And I said, "Well, it taught me almost everything because it's SOP, SOP, SOP. As soon as you walk out to the aircraft, you're doing a standard operating procedure, right?" So that drove kind of my love of SOPs in business, and so drove that into real estate, flipping homes, and then moved into some commercial assets. After commercial assets, did some net zero energy apartment complexes. We actually built the first net zero energy apartment complex in the United States, which is located in Scottsdale, Arizona. From there, we actually designed several net zero energy apartment and condo complexes, along with some, off-grid applications as well. So from that point, that's why I was really interested in the cannabis industry because it's a new evolving thing, and whenever I walk into a business, I'm always looking at how do we change this? How do we do something different? And so after my mom was diagnosed, it showed me the way was cannabis is the way to help cancer patients. And so I sat on the board for 2 years of Item 9 Labs, and then stepped in as CEO about 2 years ago, because they really liked my vision. And my vision is a couple things. Number one, getting medicine to the people that need it the most. That's extremely important to me, and I'll kind of go back here in a minute. But one of the things that we're doing, and actually it's great that Mary and I are on this call as well, is we're actually going to be starting a fund. And she's going to be heading up that fund through Item 9 Labs, with the money that we raise and the different revenues that we're going to be taking in, a percentage of that revenues every year. We're really going to put towards a fund that's going to help local people that don't have the money to get through some of these, if they do need the medicine, such as chemotherapies and whatnot in the clinical trials. We're going to try and help those people and get some applications and really help those people. Number two, my big passion is getting people into business, teaching people business, and keeping them in business, which is what we're doing through our Unity Road franchise model. So we are one of the only US-based franchisors in the cannabis industry. And really what we're trying to do is we're getting local people in business who are, people that were affected by the war on drugs, people that don't necessarily know what they do. When I walked into the Arizona Cannabis, there are people that are sitting on $20 million licenses right now that had no idea what to do with the business. They just liked cannabis. They applied for $5,000 and they've got a $20 million license sitting in their lap. So we want to walk into every state that's legal with cannabis, and we want to help people so that they can work in their business with their patients instead of on their business.
Franchising a model out of Arizona, but each state has to be separately configured.
Absolutely. And, with Unity Road, we actually made the acquisition. I believe it finished March of this year. We made that acquisition, and one of the key drivers are the team that we have through these through the Unity Road model, and the team is versed in several different countries, franchising in several different countries, which essentially that's what the U.S. is right now in the cannabis industry. It's several different countries. It's 50 different countries, right? Because each regulation is different across the board, and so having the know-how to move, quickly and efficiently in those different states, and being able to move and pivot on those regulations is massive. And that's one of the reasons we targeted Unity Road and One Cannabis Group for the acquisition, which now it's Item 9 Labs and Unity Road.
So Item 9 Labs is the founding company.
Yes.
Unity Roads. Is that how you say it? Unity Road?
Unity Road. Yep.
Unity Road.
Yeah, Unity Road.
That's going to be your dispensary model that you're going to move across the country?
Absolutely. So Unity Road is the vehicle that's going to take Item 9 Labs across the United States. So as we move into these other states with our franchisees that are local business owners, right? we're not the MSO that's going to be just gobbling up stores. We're going to walk into these states with local business owners and help them work on their business. Once we have a few in that state, then we move in. Like right now, we're moving into Colorado with cultivation and production. And so then we can usher our products right through the Unity Road stores as well.
All created within the Colorado borders.
Yes, correct. So each state we will be moving into separately with our cultivation and production. Yes.
Gotcha. And following, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure I have it straight. Following product that's created by Item 9 Labs.
Yes, that's correct. So we've got over 75 different active cannabis strains through Item 9, and we've got over 150 differentiated cannabis vape products as well. So, and concentrates. We've got a massive selection of what we can do. So.
Well, one of the biggest challenges in the cannabis industry, especially when it comes to medical cannabis, has been the lack of education for doctors, which results in their inability to properly advise their patients on cannabis. Do you see this as improving?
I think it's improving, but slowly, right? It's very slowly, but surely it is improving. But we're doing something much different because we have in-house education, and what we're doing is we're educating our franchise partners. We're educating local retail store workers on what our product is and what it does. 9 times out of 10, when somebody walks into a dispensary, they're going to walk up and say, give me your best product. Well, they're probably going to give you the thing that's going to get you the most high, right? Instead, what we want to do is we want to educate these retail workers to make sure that they're giving products for different ailments and asking the right questions, right? Those questions are, what are you suffering from? Can you not sleep? Well, I think this would be better for you. Can you, are you going through chemotherapies or radiations or any of these other types of things, and you want to do X, Y, and Z? Well, this would be better for you, right? Because I think all different products are essentially, they each have their own mission, right? Each product has.
And are you doing research on this so that you can back this up with research, or are you just doing it anecdotally?
So, really what we're doing is there is quite a bit of research out there, but we're finding that out from different companies. There are a few companies right now that are actually got the okay to do a bunch of research on it. And other countries have been doing research for years. And so different strains and different molecules will do different things, right? So THC, CBD, CBN, all those different cannabinoids will do different things. And we do have research on that. And so when we do testing on our product, that testing shows exactly what amount of each different cannabinoid is in there. And so we can tell on our packaging, well, this is what it will help with, right?
Help elicit.
Yes.
Mary, are you surprised that this turned into an industry for your son?
No, I'm not. No. Very proud of him. He's a thinker. Thinks outside the box, and that's really, really neat. What I want to say,
now that you're cancer free, are you still using any cannabis at all, or CBD? Are you still consuming?
I do.
Yes.
And for different reasons. Instead of a glass of wine, might have a little hit.
Sure. Well, we know that there's neuroprotection involved in that. That's already been proven in some ways, and so that may be helping maybe I have to say this that way, may be helping to keep you in remission the way
Exactly.
you are. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to say my oncologist is now working in a different state, and I had lunch with her not too long ago, and she had said, if you were going through treatment today, I'd send you next door to the dispensary. The hospital that she works in is working hand in hand with the dispensary there. Medical cannabis.
Wow, that's great. And without a doubt, and I think that we're going to start to see, hopefully we'll start to see that happen more and more and more as the medical industry realizes that it's something that we already know has been proven to be advantageous. But I think when they start, we have medical schools around the country that are finally starting to teach things like the endocannabinoid system and starting to understand at least some of the printed peer-reviewed study documents that are out there already. So at least it seems like we're hitting that spot where, especially when you look at over the last couple of years through the pandemic, when almost every single state, that has a medical program deemed it an essential service. The medical community is starting to wake up a little bit and say, well, maybe we ought to do a little bit more digging into this. But, as a CEO in the cannabis industry, what are some of your biggest challenges right now, Andrew?
Fundraising is a big piece. Unless you have a lot of friends that have a lot of money, it's kind of tough to go on the road. And we are a publicly traded company. INLB is our ticker symbol. But being able to raise funds in a few different ways. Number one, just equitable is tends to be a little bit tougher. Just where we're poised and essentially being one of the first cannabis or the franchise companies in the U.S. And people are a little skittish on that, right? But the second path is really getting loans. I mean, some of these loans are the lowest loan we'll see is 12%, and some of them are upwards of 35%. And it's just so tough to continue because these are all private sectors, and these loans are just really prohibitive of what you can actually do with the funds. There's a lot of OIDs, original issuance, and whatnot, and so there's a lot of difficulties in both the equity realm and essentially getting loans as well. We do have a few banks moving into the industry, and once the Safe Banking Act passes, I think that's going to really take a lot of the handcuffs off of these banks. And I really truly believe that will pass this year. So that will help a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's from your lips to God's ears. But let's talk a little bit about what you think may be coming down the pike when it comes to this industry over the course of, let's say, the next 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 years. What do you think's happening?
Yeah, I think the industry is evolving pretty rapidly, and I think what I see coming down the pipeline is that franchise is going to be a big piece of it, and keeping local people in business, because as we move into other states right now, there are a lot of states that are putting tight handcuffs around MSOs and what they can do. So they can't go into the licensing in certain states, or they can only own 33% of a license in a state. And so franchising allows people to get into business and stay in business. And, I think that it's going to move a lot more towards that path, because right now you have MSOs that are owning 33% of a license, but really they're controlling 100% of the revenues. It's only time before, these different states start to regulate that even more, where we don't own the license. Our franchisee owns the license. So I think that's going to move pretty quickly. I think that eventually we will start to cross state lines.
Yeah, but I only have to ask you this question as well as, but from where do you see this? Because you've got a president of the United States who still considers cannabis a gateway drug, and a vice president who arrested more people for nonviolent cannabis offenses during her tenure as the attorney general. They both lied and said that they were going to do something about cannabis in the first 100 days and did not. Getting ready to go into a midterms where they're going to run away from cannabis, thinking that that's something that the other side can use against them. And then when you look at the Republican side, I mean, this is a side that literally has shown no interest in expanding access when it comes to cannabis, though they jumped immediately on hemp, but only jumped on hemp in their own individual states. I mean, we would not have the hemp bill were it not for, Senator McConnell making sure that Kentucky tried to lead the way. But he has done nothing and said nothing in favor of cannabis since passing the hemp bill. So how are you coming up with this or deriving this process?
Well, if you look at what happened with the pandemic, right? There was only one state that actually shut down cannabis as a non-essential business, and they shut down for 2 hours. Right?
Right.
Every other state was an essential business. Arizona, we were deemed essential business, and we had been from the beginning to the end. That's how I see that things are starting to lighten up and loosen up. There have been, several different political figures talking about, let's just get this over with. Let's just push this through. There have also been talks about going from state license to state license and having that be, if you own a license in one state and you own a license in another state, you can then take product from that license to that license. There have been conversations about these for a while. I don't think it's going to happen this year by any means or next year. But I think it is coming down the pipeline here in a few years.
Okay. All right. Well, again, I say from your lips to God's ears, because I hope that we can see some sort of a change. Now, Mary, you're helping to form this nonprofit in hopes of helping other survivors have access to efficacious medications, both chemo and cannabis. Um, have you already put this out there? Do you have a website that people can go to find more information?
We haven't yet. This is just something that we're Andrew has just come up with and we're working on. So we will definitely let people know when we have something going.
Yeah, so we'll be coming out very quickly here with a website in the next couple of weeks. It's in being built right now. Just wanted to jump on here and definitely let people know that we're actively pursuing this fund to make sure that we are putting our money where our mouth is, because I came into the cannabis industry because of cancer, and I want to make sure that I'm continuing down that path, right? So you'll definitely be seeing something in the next week or two.
And if people wanted to reach out to you, Mary, I mean, just other survivors, people who are going through it right now, is there any way that they can reach you? Are you on, any of the social media platforms?
I'm on Facebook.
And what's your handle, or what's your
Instagram? Good question. It's just Mary Bowden. Reach out to me. I do a lot with local organization, Cancer Support Community Arizona. I volunteer there. If I can help one person, just know something. I've done my job.
Gotcha.
It's very nice to know I'm in remission, but it could come back. You never know.
Right.
But it'd be nice to help. Someone. The cost of treatment is horrendous, and if we can, through this fund, help one person get treatment that they otherwise wouldn't be able to afford, that's what that's going to be for.
Absolutely. And I don't know, Andrew, are you aware? I just have recently done several podcasts. I did one with Redman, where they've just now formed a federally sanctioned party, a new party that's called the National Cannabis Party. Were you aware of that?
I mean, I've heard, I guess, a little bit about it, but really don't know quite a bit about it. So,
I mean, they can go up on the website and actually see what its mission is. But just like the DNC or the RNC, this is a now federally sanctioned party, political party, and its political aims are to, move forward initiatives when it comes to supporting candidates, especially presidential candidates, who support cannabis.
wow, that's fantastic.
That's cool.
I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah, go up online and you can definitely find out. Let's chat a little bit more about if people wanted to find out a little bit more about your company, where would they go?
So we have item9labs.com, item9labscorp.com for investor relations. And it's the number 9. And then we have unityrd.com, which is our franchise facing website. And you can go on there and you can see, all we have to offer for the franchise piece. We have licensing, in-house construction, all the way down to, helping all the SOPs of the business. So
Absolutely. And again, throw out the website one more time so people know. Hear it.
unityrd.com. We've got item9labs.com and item9labscorp.com.
Excellent. Well, Mary, I can't say, I wish you the best, and of course, we want to make sure you stay in remission. Thank you so much for sharing and telling us about what you went through. It must have been, again, I've had a child who is a 2-time cancer survivor, and I know how horrendous that can be for a family. So I'm glad the two of you pulled together and your families pulled together the way they have to battle against this beast, and you've done so well. So thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you having us on. And I have to say that my family was my stronghold throughout.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
They were my rock.
There you go, Andrea. Well, that says a lot, my brother. So keep doing what you're doing, and I wish you much success with your franchise model. And you guys always have a home here if you ever want to come back and just talk a little bit more, especially about some of the products and things that you're offering. So let me know, okay?
Awesome. I'd love to. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Sure. Anything else you want to share before we go?
I think we're good. I think I shared pretty much everything. So
Great, super. Well, stay well, both of you, and love your families. And we'll see you next time. And make sure you tune into the next edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks for joining me on Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback also, so please send us your comments.